You've probably searched a newborn's face for a familiar nose, familiar eyes, without even thinking about why you're doing it. That instinct isn't cute. It's a 300,000-year-old detective mechanism. Because for almost the entire history of our species, there was exactly one way to know who a child's mother was, and zero reliable ways to know who the father was. Because human pregnancy hides its most important evidence. The mother watches the whole thing happen inside her own body. The father gets nothing, no proof, no certainty, just a probability he can't verify. And that single biological asymmetry, mothers always know, fathers never could, quietly built more of human civilization than almost any other fact about our species. Society assumes ancient humans handled this the way modern paperwork does. A father, clearly identified, clearly responsible, case closed. Add a wedding ring, and the question basically answers itself. For 99% of human history, that certainty didn't exist, and it wasn't just a fringe problem. It was one of the most consequential unsolved mysteries our ancestors lived with every single day. A gap between what a mother knew for certain and what a father could only estimate. And an entire architecture of human society was built specifically to paper over that gap. Here's the biology underneath it. In most mammals, fertilization happens invisibly, inside the female's body, at a moment the male cannot observe or confirm. He was present at the right time, or he wasn't. If another male was present too, that uncertainty compounds. This creates a genuine asymmetry. Maternal certainty is absolute, paternal certainty is only ever probabilistic. Anthropologists studying human behavior found something remarkable growing directly out of this uncertainty. An intense, almost obsessive attention to resemblance. People across many cultures are measurably better at matching a child's face to its father than to its mother. Even though the mother's biological connection is never in doubt. The uncertain relationship, evolution seems to have decided, is the one worth double-checking with your eyes. There's a strange social layer built on top of this, too. When a baby is born, it's almost always the mother's own relatives. The people who never had a shred of doubt about her connection to the child. Who are quickest to insist the baby looks just like the father. It's not really about accuracy. It's a social move, one that binds the father a little tighter to a child he can never be fully certain is his. Here's the part that should stop you cold. Ancient humans, in small mobile bands, mostly weren't obsessed with solving this problem biologically, because they didn't need to. What they built instead was something anthropologists call social paternity. The recognized partner of the mother simply became the father, by social consensus, regardless of biological certainty. In a world of shared food, communal childcare, and no inheritable property, being biologically wrong about paternity carried almost no cost. The lie, if it even was one, worked fine, because nothing much rode on getting it exactly right. Some societies took this even further, formally believing a child could have multiple biological fathers, each contributing through repeated acts of intercourse during pregnancy. Studies of these groups have found something startling. Children recognized as having multiple fathers sometimes had better survival odds than children with just one, because more men meant more food, more protection, more investment, spread across more households. A biological fiction, quietly producing a very real survival advantage. But this comfortable ambiguity didn't last forever, because the moment humans invented something new to hand down land, herds, a throne, the old shrug about paternity turned into one of the most dangerous problems any society had ever faced. Picture a small hunter-gatherer camp, 10,000 years ago, before agriculture. A woman gives birth. The man she's partnered with holds the child, searches its tiny face for a feature that looks like his, and decides, mostly because he wants to, that he sees it. Nobody around him questions it out loud. There is no farm at stake, no name to inherit, no throne to pass down. His investment costs him effort and food, not a legacy. The uncertainty simply doesn't need solving, so nobody solves it. Life continues. Now picture the same scene several thousand years later, inside a walled city with fields, herds, and a family name that determines who inherits all of it. The same searching look on a father's face now carries the weight of an entire estate. This time, the uncertainty isn't a shrug, it's a threat, and the solution ancient societies reached for wasn't better biology, it was control. Marriage laws, virginity requirements, seclusion, severe punishments for infidelity. A sprawling, often brutal social machine built for one purpose, manufacturing a confidence that biology itself could never provide. The Code of Hammurabi, one of the oldest legal texts we have, treated adultery as a capital offense. Roman law drew sharp, consequential lines between legitimate and illegitimate children. None of that legal machinery existed because ancient societies suddenly became more moralistic. It existed because the cost of getting the paternity question wrong had just gone from negligible to catastrophic. Now bring that back to your own life. That instinct to scan a baby's face for a resemblance, that flicker of relief when someone says he's got his father's eyes. You're not just being sentimental. You're running an ancient verification routine, the exact same one your ancestors ran. On a species-wide problem evolution never fully solved. Your DNA doesn't know that paternity tests exist now. It's still running the old resemblance-checking software, quietly, every time you meet a new baby. Because for 300,000 years, that face scan was the best evidence anyone ever had. And here's the layer almost nobody talks about. The elaborate control of women's sexuality that shows up across nearly every early legal and religious system in history. Virginity codes, adultery laws, seclusion practices wasn't random cultural cruelty invented independently 1,000 different times. It converged again and again on the same solution. Because it was solving the exact same underlying problem, the father's uncertainty about a child that, once inheritance existed, he could no longer afford to feel. That doesn't excuse the cost of these systems, which fell almost entirely on women. It explains where the cost came from. An unsolvable biological problem, once property entered the picture, got solved through control instead of through knowledge. Because for most of human history, control was the only tool available. This is the quiet stakes hidden underneath entire chapters of human history, wars over disputed royal succession, dynasties that collapsed over a single question of legitimacy. Entire legal codes in Mesopotamia, in Rome, in ancient Greece, built partly to answer a question biology refused to answer on its own. For thousands of years, humanity's best tool for a genuinely uncertain biological fact was social enforcement rather than actual evidence. An entire civilization-scale workaround for a gap that couldn't be closed any other way. So hear this clearly. That flicker of doubt, that instinct to search a child's face, that ancient discomfort around a question nobody could ever fully answer. None of it makes you paranoid or unusually anxious. It makes you the latest carrier of a 300-year-old uncertainty every single one of your ancestors also had to live with, quietly, without ever getting a real answer. In 1984, for the first time in the entire history of our species, that changed. A cheek swab can now do what no father, no mother, no elder, no legal code ever could answer the question directly. You are living in the first sliver of human history where the oldest uncertainty in family life doesn't have to stay uncertain. Everything your ancestors built to manage that uncertainty, the laws, the customs, the quiet face searching over a newborn's crib, was never really about controlling anyone for its own sake. It was the best available answer to a question biology simply refused to give up. So next time you see someone hold up a newborn and search its face for a resemblance, ask yourself, are they just being sentimental, or running the oldest verification instinct our species has ever had? Because paternity wasn't the only ancient uncertainty humans built entire civilizations to manage. What we did to solve the next one is even stranger, and it's still shaping the way you live today.